I now recognize Mr. Thanedar from Michigan, the ranking member of the Subcommittee on Transportation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thank Ranking Member Thompson, both of you, for having this hearing today. I also want to express profound thanks to the most honorable witnesses for your valuable efforts that give the people of this great country the safety they need to have prosperous lives. As we discuss threats to the homeland here today, it looks like we will more likely avert a shutdown this time. But for the second time this year, the dysfunctional Republican majority has brought our government to the brink of a shutdown after weeks of infighting. Funding our government 45 days at a time has consequences. At the Transportation Security Administration, thanks to funding Democrats provided in the last year's omnibus spending bill, workers are finally receiving the pay they have long deserved. However, pay increases were only funded for the final quarter of fiscal year 2023. So continuing at fiscal 23 levels instead of passing a full year spending bill will have increasingly dire consequences for the agency. Secretary Mayorkas, thank you for working with Congress to provide pay raises for TSA workers. What benefits is TSA seeing so far from pay raises, and what consequences would you expect to see if Congress does not provide funding to increase TSA's budget for fiscal 24?
Thank you very much, Congressman, for your concern for the men and women of TSA. I want to thank Ranking Member Thompson for championing fair pay for that workforce for many, many years, and I'm grateful to Congress for achieving fair pay finally. It has made a significant difference in the recruitment and retention of personnel who are vital to the security of the traveling public. If we lose that funding, we will return to recruiting and retention challenges precisely when travel is booming once again in a post-COVID-19 world.
Thank you, Secretary. And I, as a former business owner, I understand the importance of making sure the employees get paid fairly and they have the benefits that they need, because we are competing for these employees with the private sector, and they can always walk. And we have seen a high level of turnover in the past, and that will continue, and that will endanger our safety. But more broadly, for all witnesses, how does continually funding the government by short-term continuing resolution affect your agency's ability to execute your missions? I mean, I ran businesses and I never planned for 45-day budget. Usually it's a year, 2-year long, some also have a 5-year plan. That's how most businesses operate. How does this short-term funding affects and how you run your agencies, and how does that affect our national security?
Congressman, very difficult to plan in the implementation of important security-related and security-focused initiatives when one does not know with certainty whether the funding for those initiatives will actually come through. I should also add a different element of this. It creates tremendous worry and instability within the workforce. In fact, for example, our Countering Weapons of Mass Destruction office, I had an all-employee town hall with them because they were uncertain about their future employment. That is not a situation that we can afford at a time when we need to advance the security of the American people.
Thank you.
I would add to Secretary Mayorkas' comments that that the funding approach that you're describing is incredibly disruptive to our operations. As you say, planning is an essential part of any well-functioning organization, and it's very, very hard to do that. And I would second the concerns about our workforces. You know, more and more you have federal employees who are two federal employee couples, for example, and in a lot of places they're living paycheck to paycheck. So even with the law that was passed that ensures they will eventually get paid, which is a welcome development,
Yes.
in the short run, that's incredibly stressful for people who are battling to put food on the table and keep a roof over their families' heads.
Thank you.
And I would only add, I completely associate myself with my colleagues' comments. I would only add that, you know, what we've described is a pretty unpredictable global environment right now. And in the national security world, we need sort of a steady baseline from which we can operate and respond to crises. And so the added stress on the workforce of just being able to understand when and where their paycheck is coming from, I think is one that we don't want to really put on their shoulders.
Thank you so much. I'm over my time, so I yield back, Chair.
The gentleman yields.